Greetings and welcome to the Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. I'm Phyllis Hollis, your host. As an extension of my Instagram page, Cerebral Women, this podcast offers insights into the visual art world. I interview artists, mainly artists of color and female artists, who will freely articulate what inspires their creativity. In addition, you'll hear interesting perspectives from dedicated art professionals who work with artists and the art institutions that feature them. I'm confident that collectively, these individuals will indeed stimulate your mind as they do our eyes. Please know, these interviews are conducted in my Manhattan apartment, so please forgive the background sounds of city life. Welcome to the Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. In this episode, I feature Stan Squirewell. He is a painter, photographer, installation, and performance artist. His work is multi-layered, and his subject matter tackles themes such as race and memory through mythology, sacred geometry, and science. Stan draws his inspiration from theory books, science fiction movies and novels, avant-garde jazz, and indigenous storytelling. His artistic training began at the Duke Ellington School of the Arts, and since graduating has continued his tutelage under many of DC's legends, including artists Michael Platt and Stovall. Stan is a MFA graduate of the Hoffberger School of Painting, where he studied with the late Grace Hartigan. He has participated in many solo and group exhibitions that include Kaveh Gupta and the Studio Museum of Harlem. He is the first winner of the Rush Philanthropic and Bombay Sapphire Artisan series, and he has performed with Nick Cave at the National Portrait Gallery and Jefferson Pinder with G Fine Arts. He is privately and publicly collected. His works are in the Reginald Lewis Museum, the Robert Steele Collection, and the Smithsonian African American Museum, among others. Welcome to the Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast, and enjoy this episode featuring Stan Squirewell. Stan, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you joining me today. I have been following you for a while on Instagram because I like your work very much, and I connect with it because I collect small pieces of vintage art. So with that, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's start off with you sharing with my listeners, when and how did you recognize your artistic passion?
Yeah, it was a few stories, but I'm going to try to sum them up really quickly together. When I was 6 years old, for Christmas, my grandmother bought my cousin and I these how to draw books. You know, it was like boxcars and so forth and so on. I didn't like what I drew, and my cousin's car looked way better than mine. So I bought mine up and I 86'd it, like immediately, just 86'd it. And he went to the trash can, got it out, ironed it out with his hand, and he looked at it and he said, man, all you had to do is change this one little line and it would look just like the car in the book. So he erased it and he fixed the line and it looked like it. And I was like, oh my God, it does. I did it. Well, with your help, I did it, you know. And that taught me to never give up on myself, to keep trying. You know, that was one. Secondly, there was a moment in my youth where I had gone mute, you know, and things were just not copacetic in my life at the time between my mom and I. And so I needed therapy, you know. I mean, I literally could not say anything.
Wow. So
we went to the therapist and I wouldn't say anything to him. And so he just gave me some paper and some pencils and he said, man, draw how you feel. And when I drew it, my mom just bust out crying.
Wow.
And he even looked and he was like, oh my God. He said, anytime you have an issue, you need to draw. Just draw how you feel, because what you drew said more than what you could say. And then finally, I used to watch Bob Ross right after cartoons would go off on Saturdays, you know, PBS time and so forth and so on. And my great uncle was a Bob Ross painter, you know, but he would add little things into it here and there, like some collage work and so forth and so on. But I didn't know that until like I turned around about 8 or 9. And I went over to his house. I was like, oh my God, who made all of these paintings? I said, I did it. I was like, oh my God, you got to show me how you do this. Like, this is incredible. This is incredible. So every weekend after that, I would just bring my drawings over to him, just for his approval or pointers on what I could do to make things better. And so being as though I was dyslexic as a child, I would kind of like, and I still can do it to this day. I turn, in order for me to read a book, if I turn it upside down, I could read it better than I can right side up.
Amazing.
Wow. And I used to write that way. I used to write my name upside down and backwards.
Oh, wow.
But I thought that, that stigma of that name, dyslexia, put some holes on me though. It didn't feel good to have that. It almost felt like I was being called stupid, But I didn't realize later on in my life that, oh my God, my ancient ancestors wrote from right to left and from bottom up. Oh my God, I was like, so I was doing what naturally was in my blood, So those were things, so when I recognized that, oh man, I wasn't doing it wrong. I just wasn't doing it according to the program. And those were the moments where I began to understand that you learn the rules to break the rules.
Do you remember how old you were?
That was between the ages of 6 and 12 when those situations happened. So that was about a 6-year time period.
And those memories, are they reflected in your work?
All the time. Oh, believe me. Sometimes, folks they only see like the pieces that I curate for them to see. But there are a lot of pieces in my studio that I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. This is insane. But then once I find my way through it, I can share it at that point. So I still do not give up on myself, on my work. I still kind of do things backwards too. My process,
Yeah, I was going to ask you to give us an example.
my process is like, I won't draw nothing out. I'll draw at the end. I'll paint first. I almost look at it like how Jay-Z rap. I don't take pen to paper first for preliminaries. I just do it. I do it. I do all my finished work first, and then I come back and sort of figure out what it all means. So I still work in that same manner.
Is there a theme that connects everything?
Me. Or we, our stories. I'm fascinated with histories of people of color, Black folks. I'm fascinated with us. I'm so in love with us that I'm almost in disbelief that at this point in time in my life I wasn't. I look at what we have done before colonial times, before colonization, and I look at what we did through it, and I look at what we're doing now. Man, come on now. Hey, you talk about the majesty of oneself and the collective power of the group. Man, we rock. We're beautiful, and we make everything better. We put that soul into it, from food to music to dance. It's not good until a Black person do it for, put a little something on it. It's just that way.
I really appreciate the work that you have with the Black faces. I don't know if I should call it indigenous, if Blackamoor. I'll let you elaborate on that series.
The categorization of it, I tend to 86 that. We are children of the earth, 100%. There is no landmass where you're not going to find melanated people. Nowhere. You can call us whatever you want to call us. Black, Indian, Moor, Negro, nigger. I don't care what you want to call us. We are all over this planet, and we have always been all over this planet. This is our planet. And I'll never let someone ever tell me that it wasn't again in my life. And nor will I let anyone tell my children that. We have been everywhere. We have touched all civilizations. We have touched all people. All people are us, regardless to whether we want to acknowledge that or not. But it's true. We're not here, ain't nobody gonna be here. Those are facts. Those are facts right there. If we're not here, nobody's gonna be here. We are the beginning and the end of this mankind that we know it today. You know, and you can see that in how we touched the globe with how we left pyramids all over it. The pyramids of Giza is the same pyramids that you're gonna find in Peru. The same, you're gonna see the same style, the same building structure, different style, but that's all by way of, you know, hey, the hand of the artist. You know, my handwriting is gonna be different than yours, but nonetheless, my S and your S is still gonna be an S. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that alone, you know, we can call ourselves whatever we want because we claim those titles. We are those titles if we say we are those titles. So, you know, the power is within us to make that, you know, that assertion or not. And I'm thankful to be on this team. I'm thankful to be on this human team, you know. And when I say human, I'm talking about, you know, the hue as far as melanin, the color of who we are. You know, it's melanin is worth more than gold.
So
you know what I mean?
When you're creating work,
mm-hmm.
do you take your audience into consideration? I mean, do you create work to teach and to educate?
I make work primarily for myself. I'm the vehicle, but after I'm done with it, it's for everybody else. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to teach anybody anything. I'm not trying to sway anybody no particular way. Sorry, train's going by. Mm-hmm. I do what's on my heart. I do what was given to me, and the rest is up to y'all, the viewer, to glean from or extract or find your own way into my work. You know, I don't believe in, it's not really a belief, but I don't think about everybody when I'm making my work. I'm making what feels good to me and what comes natural. Mm-hmm. You know, and from that, I feel like that's the connector right there. That's the grand connector. That's the thing that means the most, is that when I'm in my genuine space of creativity, that's when that conversation between my work and the audience is at its best.
And how would you define your practice?
I would define it. I would define myself as an image maker, and I didn't coin that term. It was my mentor by the name of Michael Platt, bless his soul, who was able to allow me to see that I was an image maker. Because see, I can paint, I can draw, I can sculpt, I can do whatever I want, but at the end of the day, it's the image. Whatever the way that image says it needs to be done, those are the tools and the mediums that I'm gonna choose to make it. You know, so and that even means if I have to find a new skill set. You know, I remember my first steel project. You know, I made this steel pyramid, this 8-foot tall steel pyramid. I had no idea how to weld, but I knew what I had to do. So I went on YouTube University, watched 10 hours of welding and tutorials. I got my welding set, you know, and I got my gas and all of that. And I was so nervous. I didn't want to blow my finger off. I didn't want to burn nothing up. But that creative spirit within me reassured me that it was going to be all right. And all I had to do was just push the button.
Yeah, your sculptures. Yeah, those are amazing works. I enjoyed the time I spent on the website. Yeah, it's fascinating. Let's talk about the world today and how COVID is impacting your practice. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I am loving this time period right now. You know, I'm loving it because I get to spend more time with my family. I'm not in a rush hour. Something came over me where it was like, hey man, slow down. This isn't a marathon right here. Slow down, walk your way through this. So the ability to, you know, and that's something that I was man, I was groomed to look at the brighter side of of not so great situations. You know, I feel for all of the people who are sick and, you know, and have succumbed to this. And oh my God, what a horrible time this is. But for the vast majority of us, and, you know, and I'm thankful that 90-something% of the people who catch this disease live through it. But I'm even more thankful for the fact that this has given us a moment to sit and reevaluate whether or not we like the way life was before.
Mm-hmm.
Does it really behooves us to spend the best years of our lives, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, month after month, year after year, doing things for people that don't mean too much to us, or we don't mean much to them, actually, put it that way. So this time period has given me the ability to actually sit, slow down, reevaluate, recontextualize, and move in a manner that is much more heartfelt and genuine to the person that I know I am. And it has also allowed me to be in contact with my loved ones, and those include family, friends, and, you know, everybody beyond those circles, you know, associates or whatever. But I'm a person who loves people. I love people. And at the end of the day, we is what matters. It's not what I've done with my art or anything like that. It is about the fellowship and the good times and the laughs and those good times that we share with each other, you know, breaking bread with each other and so forth and so on. And I find that now folks are yearning for that because we took it for granted. We took it for granted, you know, and there's been many times in my life where I remember seeing my great uncle, and I drove and I stopped at the stop sign, at the stoplight. I saw him and I was like, oh man, you know, I wanted to just pick him up and take him wherever he was going, but I was like, I see him later. I didn't get a chance to see him later.
Oh, sorry to hear.
You know, but no. That was for me. That was a lesson for me.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lesson for me to not take time for granted.
Right.
That's what that was. And, you know, now I'm much more thankful for these moments right here, these slow moments. You know, everything doesn't have to be exciting all the time, you know? You know, there's something magical about still and silence.
Has your process changed due to this change in circumstance?
Oh, yes, in so many ways. I mean, materials that I would normally just go to the store and get, some of those materials aren't there. So it has forced me to try something new, try some new things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of the imagery that I would love to use isn't necessarily available to me right now. You know, I can't go into the museums and photograph everything. I can't travel as the way that I was prior to, you know, because I was supposed to have gone to Peru this summer. This was my summer to go to Peru and go to Mexico City and see some things. You know, this was that summer, but that didn't happen. You know, also what didn't happen was this was also my summer that I was supposed to have spent some time with Dr. Driscoll, you know. Bless him too, you know. But there goes planning.
Yes.
You know. And so I've learned to live in the moment right now again, you know. This is that time again. This almost reminds me of the 80s and 90s when I was, you know, 20 years ago. This is what this reminds me of. When everything wasn't exciting, you know. You know, we didn't have cell phones and internet and so forth and so on, that you could just log on and, you know, go to other worlds, you know, digitally. You know, we ain't had that. It was a lot of still, quiet moments, you know. And
how do you feel social media and the internet? How has it helped or supported artist practices?
In so many ways, it has helped. Most recently, I found somebody using my work to sell their DVDs.
That's flattering, huh?
Yeah. But it has opened me up, whereas local artists that I didn't even know were in my midst were, they're here.
Yeah.
The network, it is the grand equalizer when it comes to networking. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
It has opened up so many doors and so many. I remember when I first wanted my first. When I was thinking about, I need gallery representation. Before these cell phones and so forth and so on, you had to go to the gallery and actually see these people, and they weren't really nice at all. I remember showing up to some of these places with my portfolio, like I was doing something, oh no, we don't want to see your portfolio. Now I don't have to do that. They come into my website or my IG and inbox me like, hey, we got some opportunities. Your work would fit this. Mm-hmm. And that's only by way of social, through the internet.
Yeah.
That's only by way of that. So I never thought, I don't have a whole bunch of followers. I got over 4,000. It's not a grand number or anything like that. Nobody's paying me for 4,000 people. But nonetheless.
They see your art, right?
Yeah. 4,000 people, that most of which I've never met in my life.
Right. And there are people viewing your art that don't necessarily like your page, but they're seeing your art.
But they're seeing it.
It's a lot more eyes.
I mean, to date, it blows my mind that I have so many collectors that folks know. Spike Lee is a collector. Carmelo Anthony. One of the biggest, most flattering was Lauryn Hill reached out, was like, "Hey, I want you working on my tour." It's like, oh my God, Lauryn Hill, what? I'm a Fuji fan for life. Hey man, Tamron Hall, and a lot. I got it feels great to be acknowledged, especially by people that we acknowledge. You know what I mean?
Right.
But none more importantly than my peers, my artists. Mm-hmm. That's when I know I'm on the right track. When my artists are like, yo, son, that piece you just made, whoo, mm-hmm. And they didn't have to come to my studio to see it.
Right. So
I'm thankful for social media. I wish my teachers and all that had it, because their work was great, but nobody would. So many of them have gone on that their works are almost, if you don't know, you won't know in a way.
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
So yeah.
Well, I've really enjoyed speaking with you. Your energy, your attitude, your outlook is uplifting and positive. And I'm sure your family appreciates it, especially that little jewel of yours.
Oh, yes.
So this is our last question. And I've given us enough time for you to open up. And that is, what do you feel is your role as an artist?
My role as an artist is to be genuine to myself, first and foremost. It's just a role. It's an act. And I don't know the gravity or the weight that this role that I'm playing at this point in my life, I don't know the effects it's going to have on anyone or anybody unless they share it with me. So I'm always appreciative of the fact that people reach out to me and like, hey man, I love how your work make me feel. And so the only way I know that I'm doing anything is when I get that. So my role actually is predicated by others, how they feel, and again, only way I know it is when they tell me. I'm not one to be disingenuous with myself, because I could easily say, oh, the role as an artist is to teach and, and to blah, 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 blah. No. Not for me. Not for me. My role is to exist and to do what the grand creator or God or whatever blessed me to do, and to share that with everybody else. I'm just a vehicle to get from one place to the next, And as I go, I drop these little seeds that were given to me and watch the flowers bloom from them.
And what about your experiences?
My experiences,
Sharing.
my work, yes. All of my work are examples of my experiences.
Okay, yeah.
And I find that that's the bridge that connects my work to the audience, because I find that a lot of us have some of the same stories, and we love to see ourselves and others. You know, so I think that that's one of the key roles in my life as an artist, is to be able to be a mirror for others. You know, because we all have. This is a shared experience. This thing we call life is a shared experience. You know, what makes me happy is when I make something and I share it with someone else. Man, that's almost like, you know, that's the greatest. That's the high that I'm looking for. I'm looking for that shared joy. You know, those shared victories. I think that's the reason why sports are so big, is because it's a shared victory. When people can celebrate the the moment together. Or the sorrow together. And sorrow is still a shared victory. You know, it's still, in so many ways, it's still a shared experience. You know, so that's about it. That's what it is. And I love the fact that other artists do that for me. You know, I look at the work of Leonardo drew, and I just oof. There's something about it. Just I know. When I hear him speak about living, you know, when he was growing up, the dump right out back in his backyard. Ooh, man, I know what that feel like. I remember picking up trash and debris or detritus and wondering, like, how was this made? What can I do with this? And, you know, man, there's something about his story that connects all of us, especially those of us who grew up in situations that were tough. You know, but yeah, we still found our way. You know, we still found our way, and success is relative. You know, my success, what I consider success, is right where I'm at right now, to be able to share and be acknowledged by folks for the good that I share. That makes me, I feel a tremendous amount of joy. And to me, you know, it's not always about money or the accolades, but those inner, you know, the interpersonal thing that's happening between us.
And I know you're sincere. Just our interaction during this interview and when we spoke earlier, I know you're very sincere in what you say, and I appreciate you very much. And I say it all the time that art will save us, because it's people like you that help us enjoy life and the simple things in life. So I want to thank you very much for letting me feature you on my podcast. And
thank you for having me.
I appreciate it.
This means a lot. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this.
Thank you for listening to Cerebral Women Art Talks podcast. For additional content, please visit cerebralwomen.com and be sure to follow Cerebral Women on Instagram.